red light, green light.
Hello and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to be playing Squid Game, or more precisely, red light, green light from the show Squid Game. And I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, are well familiar with Squid Game by now. It's a South Korean TV show. It's been on Netflix. It's incredibly popular, and in fact, if you weren't aware of it from the South Korean TV show, you'll almost certainly be aware of it from Mr. Beast's video on the topic, which he released, I think, 5 days ago, and it's had 120 million views in that time. Now, it would be nice if we get a small fraction of those views for this one. Unfortunately, we can't offer $456,000 to anybody who solves this puzzle, but we can offer you our congratulations, and I know which I'd rather have. Now, if you're not familiar with Squid Game, let me explain what red light, green light is. Basically, in the show, 456 people are on one side of a courtyard, and their job is to get to the other side of a courtyard. Sounds very simple, doesn't it? Except they can only move when there's a green light. So when there's a green light, they can go as quickly as they like. However, if the green light turns red, then they must stop, and they must stop fast enough that they don't get shot. Because any movement after a red light, bang. Doesn't sound too good, does it? And basically, so they have this continually red light, green light, and they have to make their way from one side to the other. And that's our job in this puzzle today, because our job is to get from here, one side of the courtyard, to here. And we're allowed to, well, there are certain rules about how the path can move, so there's some snake considerations today, which always amuse me because of my puerile sense of humour. But yeah, our job is to get from there to there without getting killed. Now, I will say that we've got two versions of the rules today, so if you aren't familiar with Squid Game at all, then perhaps play the version which is just plain text. It's got no flavour. But I'm going to be playing the version with the rules that relate to Squid Game because it amuses me. But before I read you those rules, just one thing to mention. Tomorrow, of course, is the 1st of December. And on the 1st of December, if you're a patron of the channel, you get the Patreon reward for December, which this month or next month is a Mexican standoff-themed series of puzzles. So we've got 3 constructors who've contributed puzzles to the channel, and you have to solve all of them and then a meta puzzle to work out who wins the Mexican standoff. It should be a lot of fun. It should be accessible to everybody, and you've got 20 days to send us your solutions in order to win a Bubba Is You key. As I say that, I am aware that a Bubba Is You key is probably not the same as $456,000, but maybe the channel one day will be able to offer huge monetary prizes if people can solve Sudokus. Wouldn't that be amazing? Other than that, I will tease something actually. We're also hopeful that we're going to have a rather special Christmas gift for you over on Patreon. I can't say anything more about that yet, but it is very close, I think, to happening, and if it does happen, it will knock your socks off. So that's another thing to look forward to. Now, all that said and done, let's get on with red light, green light, and I'll explain the rules. We've got normal Sudoku rules apply. In cages, digits must sum to the small clue in the top left corner of the cage, if given, and that's because, look, we've got 3 cages down here with no totals. Digits cannot repeat within a cage, so normal killer Sudoku rules. And now, here comes the interesting bit. The solver must run along an orthogonally connected path that starts and ends in the green cells. While on a green light, the solver must run as fast as they can, and while on a red light, they must try not to move. Speed is represented by the value of the digits. The solver is on a green light as long as the path goes on cells that aren't part of a killer cage. On these green cells, the solver must keep up speed, and thus these cells must all contain high digits, 6 or higher. If the path crosses a killer cage, the solver has got a red light. Here the solver must stay as still as they can in order not to be killed. Thus the red cells must contain low digits, 4 or lower. The path does not touch itself orthogonally or diagonally. So let's just think about this, and I'll just run through a couple of things I understand by this. What does it mean that the path can't touch itself diagonally? Let's just explain that. So imagine the path was doing this, coming along here, and then it came up here. Now what it can't do is that, because you can see this path I've drawn, it does touch itself, look, at that diagonal point, oops, and that's not allowed. Obviously you can't touch orthogonally either. Orthogonal, if you're not aware of it, it means along an edge. So for example, if this was how the path was moving, which would already be broken because we're touching at a point here, we definitely can't take the next square because then we'd be touching along a whole edge, and that's not allowed. Now, in terms of this red light, green light rule, I think what it's saying is that let's imagine we went down here to start the path. Then all of those squares would be outside killer cages, and therefore I think they have to be high digits. Whereas if we went this way, this square would have to be a low digit because anything in a cage that is on the path has to be a low digit because we need to be stood still. That's all I can tell you. I've got no idea how this will go. Do have a go yourselves though. There's a link under the video if you want to play the puzzle on whichever device takes your fancy. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. I think this puzzle, by the way, apparently it's meant to be approachable, and it's got a huge rating on Logic Masters Germany, so it should be very fun indeed. Now, I've just thinking 2 and 5 outside cages can't be on the path, can they? So yeah, okay. So these two squares are definitely on the path, and they're outside cages, so they must be high. So they're 6, 7, 8, or 9. These two squares are definitely uncaged, and they're not high, so these are not on the path. So maybe, oh no, hang on, I was going to make these red, but that's probably dumb, isn't it? Because it's called red light, green light. So some of the cells on this path are going to be red, right? Okay, these are not red, these are blue. We'll use blue for cells that definitely are not on the path. So the 28 looks too big to... Yeah, in fact the 28 is immediately suspicious, isn't it? Because we're going to have a lot of high digits in there that can't be on the path because they're in a cage. Yeah, okay. Yes, I understand. Right, let's have a look at this square and ask where it can go. What would happen if it never enters the 28 cage? Well, if it never enters the 28 cage, it would have to come down here, which means all of these squares would be from the digits 6, 7, 8, and 9, so they'd be a 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple. Now there is no way to make the 28 cage add up, because 4 digits from the digits, if you add 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2, you only get 14. That's not the same as 28. These are the knowledge bombs you get to learn on Cracking the Cryptic, so that's nonsense. Now this is right, this is beautiful already, because this means that the path does come into the 28 cage. Now once it comes into the 28 cage, we're on a red cell. It could be here, but whichever cell is red must be a low digit. But in a 28 cage, you can't have a digit that's any lower than 4, because if you do, let's just show you, if you put 3 in here, you've got those 3 digits have got to add up to 25. That's impossible. 7, 8, and 9 only add up to 24, so that's not enough. So the digit that is on the path in the 28 cage is a 4, which means that, yes, okay, so the 28 cage is a 4, 7, 8, 9 quadruple, which means this square is a 6. And now all of these are ruled out, because none of them can be high, and if they were on the path, they would have to be high, so those all turn blue. And we can't come to this square now, because although this square could be a red 4, the next square would be a high digit in a cage, which is not a valid option. We would get shot and killed, and the objective of the game is not to let that happen. So this square is not red. That must be blue then, so that must be red. Once that's red, we know it's the 4. Now we can't come to any of those squares because they are all high digits in a cage. And we must come to this square, which is now a 7, 8, or a 9. And yeah, this is, I really love puzzles like this. This square now cannot be on the path because it's outside a cage, but cannot be a high digit. So that's a blue digit. So now if we go downwards, I can immediately see we're going to have to use up all 4 high digits there, which might give us, yes, yeah, okay. If it, now we'll ask the question again for this box. Is the 18 cage, does it contribute to the path at all of the snake? And the answer is yes, because if it doesn't, how does this snake continue its journey? If it can't come through the 18 cage, it would have to come down there, like this, which means that these squares are another 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple, and it means these 3 squares have to get to 18 using 5 plus 4 plus 3 as the maximum we could put into them. 5 plus 4 plus 3 is 12, it's not 18, so this doesn't work again. So now we know, well, in fact we know exactly 1 cell in the 18 cage must be on the path, because if 2 cells were on the path, the maximum these could be would be a 3 and a 4, and then the other square would have to be an 11, which is not allowed. So there is 1 red cell in the 18 cage. Now, which one is it? I think we're going to have trouble as well with the number of high digits in this box, aren't we? Because the second cell, whichever one of these is the next cell, is definitely high. And then the 18 cage itself is going to have high digits in it, because one of the digits has to be actually low if it's on the path. So is that, if that's on the path, yeah, that, right, this is lovely actually. This is not that straightforward, but it's very interesting. Let's see if we can make an argument that says this cell here is on the path. In other words, it's red. Now if this is red, we know it's a 1, 2, 3 or 4. But that means these 2 squares, this domino here, has to add up to at least 14. And look at this given 5 we've got. A given digit in a puzzle, I should be very suspicious about those because I hardly ever get them nowadays. But if these are adding up to at least 14, and they can't include a 5, if this is red, those are both, well, I don't know if they're green, but I definitely know they've got to be selected from 6, 7, 8, and 9, which means in this box, once one of these 2 is a 6, 7, 8, or 9, I've used up all the high digits. But once I'm in this square, if I visit this square, what's my next digit going to be? It can't be this way, because these squares are high digits in a cage. So it would have to be down here, and that would then have to be a high digit to be on the path, and I'd have too many high digits in the box. So if I do that one, so if the path is argued to be that, you can see I've got 5 high digits, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. If it goes like that, again, I've got to get out of box 2 somehow, because I've got to get down here. I can't do it. So this square is not red. Well, yeah, it's not red because it's not on the path, and only one of these cells can be on the path. So that's a blue square. Right, I see. Right, now let's carry on with this logic. We don't know what they are anymore, but we now, is it possible that this square here is a 4, or is a low red digit? That's the question. Is it possible this is a red digit? And I think again the answer is no, because if this is a red digit, we can't come through this square, because we know that the other cells in this 18 cage have got to be, they're definitely not low digits, so they're definitely not available to be on the path. So the only way of connecting this to this is going to be via a trail down there, and that's going to put even more high digits in box 2 again. So that square is also blue, so this is the red digit. How do you get to this? This is not a cul-de-sac, remember? Well, those 2 squares must therefore also be on the path. Those 2 squares are outside cages, so they're both green. Now this square cannot be a snake cell anymore, or the snake is going to touch itself. And don't let your snakes touch themselves. So we've got a straight line across the top is what we've got now. This square, if that's on the path, then that's the third head of the snake, and we're not trying to make a hydra here. We're trying to make a path. So that square is blue. This square, oh, hang on, look. These three squares are all on the path and are all outside cages, so they're all high, and that is a 7, 8, 9. Well, not only is it 7, 8, 9 triple, but it's a 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple, so this square can't be on the path anymore, because if it is, because it's outside a cage, we would be green light, it should be high. Well, it can't be high because we've used up all the high digits. So that's blue. We must go into a cage with a red. So this is a low digit now, which means this square is a high digit, or a 5, I suppose. But if it's a 5, we can't go to it. Yeah, so to this, yes, this cell is blue axiomatically, because it's not a low digit for certain, which means that the path continues into a cell that must be green. I love this puzzle. Now these two are unavailable because we'd be creating a hydra. And okay, so now we're left with choices, are we? This square here is not a 4, so that's 1, 2, or 3. Does that mean these two have to be high enough that we could rule these two out? If that's a 3, these would add up to 15 at least, so they couldn't include a 5. Yeah, so yes, okay, so these two digits here are definitely high digits in a cage. Well, it doesn't matter they're in a cage, they're definitely high digits. They're only selectable from 6, 7, 8 or 9. Oh, right. This is all forced. Look at this now. There's loads of logic going on. Firstly, we've now got a 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple here. So that square has a 5 and that square is a 4. Secondly, the 6 in this quadruple is in this domino. But we know that these three digits here have to add up to 18, and this one can't be higher than a 3, so it now must be a 3, and this must be a 6, 9 pair. Now if that's a 6, 9 pair, 9 must be here in box 1, this must be a 7, 8 pair, there's no 9 up there, this has become a 9, we're cooking with gas, and we haven't got killed yet, this is all good news. Now, right, now these two squares are both blue, because if they were on the path, they would have to be high, and all the high digits have gone. So these are low digits. The 2 in box 2 has to be in that domino. The 2 in box 1 has to be in this domino. And now I might be stuck. I've got a 1, 2, 3 triple in row 2. That's not a 2. Okay, so we probably... oh no, hang on, I was about to come and look at this digit, but what about where 5 goes in row 1? Well, it can't go in that domino there, so it goes here, and that makes that a 2, and we get a bit more joy there. So now we've got a 1, 3 pair in box 1, which means this square is a 1 by Sudoku. Now we know what these digits are. Those digits are 2, 4 and 5. That's not 2, that's not 5. Oh, bobbins. And now we get a 6, 7, 8 triple at the end of here, look, and we get a 3 here. Now, why do I think this is bobbins worthy? Well, let me explain. Let me just get these two digits. That's a 1 and a 2. Okay. But the reason I think this is a problem is I was hoping to be able to tell which way this went and rule out a high digit from this square. But actually, it looks like it can be a high digit. So, if we come straight down into the 8 cage, this would have to be a low digit, and it couldn't be a 4. So it would have to be a 1 or a 3, because it couldn't be a 2. And that would mean this was a 7 or a 5, and couldn't be visited. So we then have to turn This all looks possible, actually. No, right, okay, right, lovely. This is really clever again. The 14 cage here is caged. That's its nature. It's in a cage. So we can't put a 4 in it. And if you can't put a 4 in it, we can blue it, because we can never go in it with our snake. So this is not the path, and that means this is not the path, because if we come here now, we're entering a cul-de-sac. So those get blued in. This does come down here, which makes this red. We know it can't extend here, so that makes that blue. We can't come in here now, or our snake will touch itself. So that's become blue. That's a cul-de-sac. That becomes blue. We've got to go here. That must be red. So let's put the options in. That's a 1 or a 3. That's a 5 or a 7. Doesn't tell us what the 14 cage is. This is only a 1 or a 4, actually. It sees 2 and 3. And oh, lovely, yeah, okay. And now this 17 cage is lovely because we can't have a second low digit in it, because then those 2 domino low digits would add up to a maximum of 7, and the other digit would have to be a 10, which is impossible. So that means no more cells in the 17 cage are allowed to be visited, which forces the path down there on green cells outside cages. So these are high digits. Now, do we know what happens next is the question. Do we know what the 14 cage is? No. Do we... what do we do now? No, I don't want to die. I need to keep moving. I'm going to assume we're in a green light phase of the video. And I'm going to... If it comes here, that has to be... Oh, I suppose whichever way it goes, its next digit is a high digit. But that doesn't look problematic. If this was a high digit... Actually, well, I suppose there might be a restriction if those two are both high. In terms of the number of high digits I could put in box 6. If it goes left, this would be a high digit, and then the 17 cage might... yeah, okay. So if that's high, this couldn't be a 1. That's it. Right, done it. Okay, so if this is a high digit, it would have to be a 6, 7, 8 or a 9. That's just true. But now I've got a problem in this 17 cage because I've already got 3 high digits in box 5. If this is a 1, these 2 squares have to add up to 16. They'd have to be 7 and 9, and that would mean I have 5 digits selected from, 5 cells selected from 4 different digits. So I'd have to repeat a digit. That's not going to work. So if this is high, this is a 4, but now I can't put 1 in the box anymore. Nowhere. Well, it'll have to go in the 17 cage along with a 4, and then the other digit will have to be too high for it to work. So this square is not high. Well, at least it's not the path. It's not on the path. The path must not go to that square. So the path must come this way. I'm just trying to think, does that mean we do know? I don't know that we do know. If this is a 1, that can be a 7, 9. We'd have all the high digits known. I'm not sure. There might be some way of resolving that, but I can't immediately see what it is. So maybe we have to use this digit. This digit is a 6, 7 or an 8. And we've got to find a way of working out which way we go next. I'm trying to work out what that way is. I'm not immediately seeing it. And then we've got, I see. So then whatever we do in the bottom right, we've then got to cut across the bottom of the grid somewhere because we have to get here. And that's interesting in terms of column. Oh no, this is right. This is beautiful. I do know what this digit is. In fact, this is just gorgeous. Right, this is gorgeous setting. How could this ever be a 1? This has been available. Well, no, it hasn't been available. It's just been available since we turned right here. The moment this is a 1, remember this would be a 7-9 pair. Let's put it in. But now all the high digits have been used up in column 5. And I could never cross. I'm going to have to get from here to here somewhere. So I have to cross somewhere. And I can't do it anymore because these are all uncaged. They need to be a high digit in order for me to cross them. And no, there's no high digit left in column 5 anymore. So this cannot be a 1. So that is a 4. And these... Oh, this is gorgeous. Right, now what is the nature of this domino? It's not 4-9 because there's a 4 in here. And it's not 6-7 because that's going to mean 4 high digits again. And we still couldn't get a high digit in here. So that must be 5-8. And that means that's a 7. And that's an 8. And that's not an 8. That's not a 5. So, oh, I see. So this is a 5 now. And we've got a 2-4 pair here. And we've got a 1 placed in the box by Sudoku of all things. Piatato, fancy making me do Sudoku in a Sudoku puzzle. Outrageous. 3 has to be in this domino now in box 5. Yeah, but what actually got me thinking about column 5 was column 6. Because in this column I've also got, in fact now I've got a 6-7-9 triple. So there's an 8 down here. In fact, I've just noticed that's a 2 and that's a 4. But the 8 down here, and it's a 1-8 pair, sorry, I'm just catching up with my brain. Whichever is the 8 must be the gateway through which the right-hand side connects to the left-hand side. Yes, so similarly, there's 1 digit along here that is also going to be the gateway, or the portal. So this square cannot be, it cannot be the path, because once I've come through here to this square, for example, I'm going to use up all the high digits in column 5 by doing that, so I can't also then turn. I can't do this sort of thing, so that's definitely got to be blue. And we're either on a chain like that or a tunnel like that to get across. Oh yeah, here we go. Here we go. Let's do exactly the same logic again on column 7, where we know one of these, if neither of these were high digits, because they're uncaged, they would be blue. And now we've isolated this in the bottom. We can move it around here, but it can never get over there again. So one of these is a high digit, which completes the high digit quota for the column. So this square cannot be high and therefore must be blue. This is beautiful logic. So that forces this one, which means that's, well, we don't actually know anything about this one. Could be any high digit, I think. So one of these digits is high. Yeah, and we don't have quite the same consideration in column 8, look, because we don't know. We know we've got 2 high digits there. We would know if we knew about the 14 cage. If we could rule out, if this was 6-8, we could rule out this square from being the next square on the path. Ooh, another trick we could do though. Let's look at this 6-7-8. We know there's a virtual 6-7-8 triple in column 7 because one of these squares must be green. Well, that means this square can't be high as well. So that's a 5, that's a 3, that's a 5, and that's an 8. Okay. Right, so the 14 cage now this is perfect. The 14 cage is 6-8, which means though this square is a naked single 7, 6, 8, 7, that's a naked single 9 now, that's a 6, that's a 6, that's a 9, that's a 7. These squares are 3 and something, 3 and 9, which we can do from the 9 here. 9, 3 go in the grid, both of which, interestingly, could be on the path, look, because that 3 is caged and the 9 is uncaged. These three squares are now known. They're 1, 7 and 9. And that's not 9. Can we do more over here? What do we need to finish this box? 1s, 2s and 4s. And that's not a 1. Yes, okay, but this square is not available then for the path because it's low and it's uncaged. So that's blue. This comes down, it must be green. And that is that the end of the high digits in this column? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, it is. So this is a 6, 7 or 8. That square is therefore blue. Right, yeah, and now look at this little square. Is it possible this square is blue? No, because then our path is going to end down here. So this must be a red square. Once it's a red square, we know it's got to come here to get through. And therefore, we now can no longer access any of these. All of these turn blue. This square is low, but it's... we don't know anything about its nature. 1, 2, 3 or 4. This square is not 7. This square is a 6 or an 8 because it's high. So these two squares are a 1, 2 pair. So that square is a 3 or a 4 now by Sudoku. Ooh, and here's a little trick we can do. How could this ever be an 8? It can't be an 8 because if it's an 8, remember how are we getting across this little tunnel? It's like the Great Escape, and we're Steve McQueen. Now, if we're Steve McQueen here, and we have to go through a tunnel like this, what's the nature of this square? Well, it must be the high digit in column 6. The only high digit available is the same digit as this. We can't have 2 8s in a row of a Sudoku, so that can never be an 8. It must be a 6. That must be an 8. Now, as we've turned here, we must just continue, mustn't we? We know this square is blue. We must continue into this square. That's green. That's an 8. This is a 1. That's a 1. That's a 2. We must continue because we need to go to high digits. We've now done all our high digits in this column. In fact, we can write that digit in, I think. That's a 9. We need a 2 and a 3. We can do that. 2 and 3 by Sudoku. So these squares are 4, 6 and 7. Let's just put that in. That's not a 6. So there are 2 high digits here, look. But we know we can't wiggle into any of those cells, so we must continue into this square with a 7, which means these two squares have become a 4, 6 pair. Now these two squares are now blue because they cannot be high. We've used all the high digits in row 8. Okay, I'm pretty certain we're not coming down here, because if we came down here we'd have to finish the loop immediately. We'd have no choice, and that would mean these uncaged and these caged but unnumbered cages would have been irrelevant to the solve. So we must have to turn up. We just have to work out why. So if we turn up, this would be a cage, this would have to be a low digit. Oh, that's weird. If we turn up and hit this square, this has to be low, but if we turn down, this has to be high. So whichever way we go, we actually know the order of the 4 and the 6. How strange is that? Answer, very. So I know what they are, but I don't know which one of them is blue. And it doesn't actually resolve anything, which is a bit odd. 6 is going to one of those squares by Sudoku. Can we do more with any of these other cages down here? How many high digits have we got in column 8? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a low... Right, this is actually a low digit because it's not a 5. And it can't be a 1 or a 2. So that's a 3 or a 4 by Sudoku, and there's a 3 here. Here we go. 4, 3. These have to add up to 12 without being 3, 9 or 4, 8. So that's a 5, 7 pair. We can do that as well. 7 and 5 go in. 6 and 7 go in. 6 and 8 go in. So this square is now a naked single 8. This square is a naked single 9. Right, do we know that? No, we don't. We're doing quite well in the bottom row. No, we're doing well enough. We're doing well enough. How can the path come down now? If it comes down, all 4 of those digits are high digits in row 9, and that square couldn't exist. But it does exist, so we don't turn down, which means those 2 squares get blued. We must come up here through reds, but we don't know the total of that cage, so that's not helpful. But we do come to that cage. What are these digits then? 5, 8, and 9. Let's put that in. 5, 8, and 9. That's not 9. 1, 2, and 4 along that one. With that not being a 2 and that not being a 4. And along this one, 3, 6, and 7. And we know that this is a low digit that's on the path. So that is a 3, which means that we get a 6, 7 pair. This is gorgeous. 6, 7. This is in a cage, so it cannot be on the path. So that's blue. Oh, that could be on the path. That's a high digit outside a cage. This is path now. That's a green digit. It must be an 8, because it can't be a 6, 7, or a 9. That 8 fixes the bottom of the grid. This is just an example of exceptional setting. This 3 is very important. 3, 1, 7, 1, 9. 7 and 8 at the top can be done. 8 and 5 at the bottom. Are we going to actually get this puzzle? We might be able to finish this puzzle without doing the rest of the path. Let's just see how far we can get with this. This column needs 3 and 5. We can do that. 3 and 5 go in. This box needs a 2 and a 4. No. Oh, hang on. I've made an error, haven't I? I'm just looking at this box thinking it's not going to work if I put 2, 4 here and I've got a 4 up there. So something has just gone awry. Oh, I see what I've done. I think literally it was right there. Thank goodness. I've got a 5 here. So this is not a 3, 5 pair. This is a 3, 4 pair, and that's much relief. So that's a 3, that's a 4, that's a 2, 1, 4, 1, 2. And this is now a 5, and that's a 2. And all we've got left to do is to try and not get killed. How do we not get killed? We can blue in that square, because that's a low digit outside a cage. We can blue in this square, because that's in a cage, but it's not low, or not low enough. Right, so now we can't go to the 6, because the 6 would then be a cul-de-sac, so that gets blued. We must go upwards. So that's red, that's green, that's red. This is quite nerve-wracking. That's got to be blue now, because we can't go up into it. That must be red. And this is, yes, that's blue, of course, because it's outside a cage. So that should finish it. And the 7 gets blued. What a brilliant Sudoku. Let's click tick. Yes. I loved that. That's just exceptional, isn't it? It really is just exceptional. So the whole, I mean, from beginning to end, there is lovely logic. I think my favourite bits of logic, though, were around these columns. And the fact that you could sort of work out approximately where 3 of the high digits went. And then once we worked out, I can't remember exactly which cell it was down here, but we knew that we had to get from around here to down there, and therefore we needed to cross somewhere down at the bottom of the grid, and that was going to use up the last high digit you could put in these columns, and from there you could do a bit of geometry to sort of figure out the path. Look, still alive, made it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments. Oh, I really hope you enjoyed this one. The puzzles don't get better than this. Thank you very much, Piatato, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.